Waters down towards the Kefalonia Range Fault with a thinner layer of sediment down in the south. So the Apulian platform, flex carbonate, provides a good opportunity for structural traps up against the faulting. There'll be stratigraphic traps at depth if we have the porosity and permeabilities. If they exist, we need to drill it first. There's been speculation about the possibility that the Triassic evaporites extend this far to the west. If they do, there are opportunities below the salt. And then there are questions relating to the burial and temperature gradients, i.e. maturity, and we have analogues from the Italian side which support the opportunities for plate concepts at depth on the Apulian platform. The more recent Cenozoic Fallen Basin, where we have these reworked carbonates and sediment that's been, the seal that's been formed, provided by the Helenide orogeny, and sediments of up to 2 kilometers thick in the south. And then there's the inverted Nova-thrust Paxi and Ionian zones, where we have structural traps and salt control, with potential for diapirism and inverted salt in upthrust. This model here is what plays into the central Ionian area. So here it's to the south of Kefalonia, it's in the Bay of Patras, Patriarchos Gulf, and runs down to the south to the Cataclon Discovery. So in here it's been upthrust and overthrust, folded maps, very structural. This is a model that Triton put together in the Gulf of Patras. And our control here is really driven by the evaporites with a combination of thin and thick skin tectonics. The legacy seismic is really very poor quality, and so there are questions around whether the salt is diapiric or if it's thrust. And we have we need to develop our understanding of the interface between the Apulian, the pre-Apulian and the Ionian, and where those thrust boundaries are. What is clear is the top Eocene unconformity, so the top of the carbonates and the fleisch that's been deposited on top, and this is what's been drilled successfully in the past. So it's drilling on those highs. In most places we believe we have a good top seal, but because of the structural complexity, the reservoirs might be limited in extent. Further to the west, there's a question of where the oceanic crust, what the extent of it is, and how close to the coast it is, and what is the nature of this continental ocean boundary. So here's a line that runs from almost Cataclon, it's just at the edge of the image here, out to the southwest, and we can see the structural complexity and imaging challenge that this region will pose. But we're getting good imaging for these very early results, and we can pick our unconformities of the top of the carbonates from the thrust material, overthrust material. So the things that we need to identify are where the principal thrust sheets are, and the pre-Apulian or Paxi Ionian contact is, and then image these faults and identify the highs and look for both stratigraphic and structural traps in the area, as well as identifying the salt. So we can see there are areas where it appears to be diapiric salt, Triassic salt that's been remigrated. Here's a north-south line in the same area. This line is 180 kilometers long, so it's highly compressed in the lateral sense. We're going to zoom in on this rectangle here in a moment, but we can see there's an extensional regime because it's perpendicular to the direction of principal stress, and very clearly delineated fault structures with smaller faults in between, nice unconformities, and extensional basins that have been formed with more recent sediment in them. Here we've zoomed in on this area, and we can see these nice Nice reflectors with unconformities. Nice, what looks like top carbonate again, with erosional surface, which could well be karstified if they have a appropriate sediment on top. It could form a good seal. And then we have lots of structural control here as well, that if it's sealed could also provide good trapping mechanisms. And that really is the trapping mechanisms is the big question in Greece. There are hydrocarbon shows throughout the coast of gas and oil. Gas seeps down the coastline, so we know that there's a petroleum system that's working there. It's just a matter of finding the traps. We're going to zoom in on an area here just to show the resolution of the seismic in the near surface. So we're at 2 seconds just in here. And we can see the nice structural control, extensional regime of this faulting. You can see the nice unconformity and sediment on top, and thick layer of sediment beneath, which is known to be productive in terms of the source and the carbonates. So south of Crete, it's a more complex situation. Here we have a transtensional regime where we're on the margins of the Hellenide thrust. So this oblique convergent forearc setting provides some challenges in terms of finding productive or prospective areas. Some of the questions that we posed for ourselves is there a Messinian salt in the area? We've seen different maps of the salt in extent, and it varies tremendously. Our geostream and GS data should be able to answer that question. What is the provenance of the sediment? For the thick layers of sediment that we've seen, where is the location of the Mediterranean ridge, and what is its structure if our lines extend that far? And of course then, that Mediterranean ridge probably is the accretionary prism from the subduction. So here's a line misplaced. It's a little further down to the southwest. So it extends from the coast down to the Libyan border. So the northeast, and Crete is up here on the right-hand side, and it extends out through the overthrust Cretaceous to Oligocene, Eocene overthrust material with more recent sediments on top. There's the Pliny Trench, and then the stable abyssal plain, which we believe sits on continental crust with the oceanic crust beneath it, which is being subducted. And this over here is the accretionary prism material, which has been stacked up as a result of the oceanic crust subducting underneath. So here we know we have some good opportunities and thick layer of sediment. Over the continental crust with the sediment on top, we need to improve our imaging so we can figure out what this is and how much sediment we have here, but it's in extremely deep water at the moment. The next line runs from south of Crete to the southeast. So Crete is here up on the left-hand side of the northwest, and it runs to the southeast. So this is the same overthrust, inverted, uplifted material. It's the Ptolemy Trench, or Ptolemy and Strabo Trench, and these are a result of the uplifting and structural control at the near surface rather than a deep tectonic control. Outboard of this compressional regime, we can see an extensional regime of Horsten Graben and material that's more recent sediments that's infilled in these graben structures. And then further to the southeast is evidence of mud volcanoes, which we believe is related to the subduction in the accretionary prism and remobilization of sediments at depth. So once again here we have a thick layer of sediment, great opportunity for hydrocarbon accumulation and source accumulation. We have structural opportunities for this Horsten Graben regime. Once again it's in deep water, so it'll be challenging. And then similar structural control in the overthrust material to the close to Crete. The real question is, what are the sediment thicknesses for these productive areas? So we'll see that once our imaging is improved. So the license round timing, acquisition of the seismic was completed early this year, and it's in processing now. It'll be completed. Data processing will be completed through pre-SAC time migration by the end of this year or early next year, and then interpretation will be in Q1 of next year, and the data will be available as soon as it's ready. We have a plan to run some full tensor gravity gradiometry in the area as well, but that is subject to getting some pre-funding for the project. This will be really useful in helping to build our velocity model and to differentiate between salt and carbonates at depth in the overthrust areas. The license round opens in mid-2014 and will close late 2014. So our data will be available effectively from the end of this year, allowing 6 months to evaluate it and prepare for this license round activity. So our preparations for licensing is on track. We've got great data with some tremendous imaging potential and some challenges in the structurally complex areas. There's several plate types that we're identifying already. We know there's a working hydrocarbon system with the seeps and leaks at the surface. Maturity is known in some areas and it's quite likely in others. It's the trapping that's the challenge in the area. So it's once again a demonstration that the geostream and GS technology really does make a difference in opening up new markets and new areas and providing a superior ghost-free image. That's it. Thank you very much.